There has always been a saying, you are what you eat. If you eat well, you live well, and if you eat unhealthy, you live unhealthy. Well, what if we ate genetically modified foods? If we ate foods that have altered DNA, perhaps we would transform into modern-day mutants. This is the belief of many consumers around the world. According to an article by the University of Florida, about 60% of all U.S. foods contain genetically modified organisms, the most common being in key crops such as corn and soybeans. With the prevalence of genetically modified organisms being so high in our crops, it is only natural for one to inquire about the risks and benefits of using such technology. According to various research, the benefits of using this biotechnology overwhelmingly outweighs the potential risk to our health. Yet consumer opinion about the topic suggests that the majority of populations are too uncomfortable with the idea of genetically modifying things we ingest. Many consumers believe that genetically modified organisms pose a threat to the normal functioning of our bodies. Most people with a negative opinion about GMs in our food are against them simply because of their mistrust in the government. Other people are against their use because of the assumed effects on the body. According to the article by Farid E. Ahmed, consumers understand that GMs are regulated by the FDA but do not trust that they will enforce their laws on the manufacturers. Labels must be presented on certain GM foods in order to acknowledge their use of this biotechnology. The review in the Plant Biotechnology, Food and Feed suggests that consumers rely too heavily on media coverage about GMOs and are not informed of the true benefits they provide. Various government companies are used in regulating the use of biotechnology and have set strict standards that companies must abide by. While the media portrays GMOs as dangerous and debilitating to our health, science has actually proven that GMOs are no more as dangerous as organic food that we consume on a daily basis. Science has proven that GM foods have the same risk factors as most natural foods. The biggest concern was allergic reactions to food produced through biotechnology. According to the University of Florida, food allergens are naturally found in milk, eggs, nuts, soybeans, and shellfish. These account for nearly 90% of all food-related allergies. Simply speaking, if the allergen is already naturally present, then biotechnology cannot create an additional risk. On the other hand, manufacturers of GMOs are required to provide a report stating that they did not add any allergic substance into their product. If not provided, they must present a warning label on their product required by the FDA. It goes on to claim that there have been no reported incidents of allergic reactions caused by genetically modified foods. This goes to show just how beneficial genetically modified foods can be to our systems. Apart from a low risk factor, GM foods also improve the economies of established countries as well as developing countries. With low cost production and a high yielding rate, GM foods are a plentiful source of needed nutrition. Studies have shown that the use of biotechnology has improved the cost of production in providing a significant surplus to be shared to developing countries. Since GM crops provide larger production with lower costs, companies are able to sell their goods at a much lower price than organic food. The European Review of Agricultural Economics states that GMs provide a multitude of benefits such as environmental, health, and third world assistance. In turn, these all contribute to the decreased cost of production and the amount of money that consumers demanded to buy GM foods. Biotechnology has increased the yield of crops so significantly that it can provide developing countries with a greater amount of food supply for their hungry and deprived. The Plant Journal by Anthony J. Connor expressed its fear in biotechnology becoming over-dominant to local breeders, that they may act as an invasive species and overpopulate much of their used land. Although it discusses this concern, its main argument was questioning the ethics of artificial breeding. The article from the University of Florida counteracts this statement by arguing that pesticides and fertilizers are not needed because plants produced through biotechnology can be easily controlled. It continues to explain that plants that are genetically engineered allow for scientists to create foods that provide more nutrition to its consumers. An interesting crop being evaluated currently is the golden rice, which produces a substance responsible for the production of vitamin A in the body. It is noted that countries that rely on rice as a major food source are also most likely to have populations suffering from vitamin A deficiencies. Such engineering as this will provide these countries with sufficient nutrients to help lower the death rate of small children and their less affluent populations. Genetically modified foods are a solution to scarce food supply and overcoming national hunger issues. They pose no real threats to our health or well-being or environment. They are heavily regulated by the FDA through strict testing and procedures in order to be consumed. If science may continue to create these superfoods, then perhaps we may in turn become superhuman.